Okay, we're back with Grand Tactician Civil War, the CSA campaign. As mentioned in the last episode, I've been off camera for a little bit, recruiting, reorganizing some of these armies, shifting leaders around, trying to scratch around for weapons to supply them. There weren't much. A lot of default weapons here. And done with that. And the game's been paused, so changes aren't reflected yet here. We've got 53,000 in uniform. And following that Militia 2 policy that we got, a volunteer man pool immediately available now of 75,000. Can't use all of that because, of course, the manpower pool is where replacements come from for replacing soldiers for loss through attrition and sickness and battle casualties. So I've recruited quite a few infantry brigades. I think 11. Some cavalry brigades, 3 or 4, 5 regular artillery battalions, and a whole bunch, at least 12, maybe 15 horse artillery battalions. And it all added up to about 45,000 men. Which, as soon as those units actually form up, will come out of that volunteers available pool and leave us about 30,000 in reserve to replace losses in existing units, which is also needed because a lot of the starting brigades from the campaign start were quite small, down around 1,200, 1,400 men. So I wanted to leave ample room, I just didn't want to recruit 75,000 dudes. That's all. One other thing I want to mention in the discussion that I did in the last episode about all my thoughts on how to modify my practices to account for a smaller Confederate army. And I left unaddressed one rather obvious question. One might well ask, well, I have a core organization that I like and works for me. Rather than mess around with that organization, how about reducing the manpower by recruiting smaller brigades? Either the small or medium-sized brigades instead of the full brigades. And I did very much consider that. I just forgot to talk about it last time. And that was actually my first thought. I thought, well, instead of recruiting full brigades, I'll just recruit medium-sized brigades, and that'll pretty much do what I want to do. I rejected that for 2 reasons. The first is that small brigades are brittle. The bigger the brigade is, the more resilient it is going to be to losses, morale-wise, on the field of battle. If I have a brigade which takes, say, 400 losses because it's caught right at the hot spot in the line that all of the enemy are gunning for, or something like that, a 3,000 soldier brigade is going to be able to weather that kind of loss. A 2,000 man brigade, or I think a medium is at full strength, it's 2250. Which means most of the time it'll be somewhere around 2,100 or so in actuality. That percentage loss is going to hurt it proportionally more. And a 1,500 man brigade taking that kind of loss, well, it won't take that kind of loss probably in most cases. Not a typical unit, a really veteran maximum experience unit would. But most brigades, you know, a 1,500 man brigade takes 400 or 500 troop losses. It won't take that many because it's going to break and rout first. So I didn't want to go the smaller brigade route. I wanted to stay with full-size units. That was one reason. And then the other reason is longer term, even if I recruit a medium, 20 to 50 size brigade, it's not capped out at that. That's just the size at which you recruit it. A full-size brigade is 3,000 men. And replacements will trickle in from the manpower pool to fill that, no matter what size no matter what size that brigade is recruited at. And so I felt like if I go with the medium or small size brigades, okay, I'm saving a manpower hit right now at the time that I recruit them, but I'm creating a bigger ongoing drain on the manpower pool, which will last, well, for years, really. It takes a long time for replacements to trickle in. And I think I would rather, if given a choice between 9, say, medium-sized brigades and 7 full-size brigades in a corps, I think I'd rather have the 7 full-size brigades. And also, going back to the size of brigades, it's not just the resilience and the morale of taking casualties, it's also the firepower, right? If I have less men, I got less guns too. Anyway, I had meant to discuss that last time when I was doing my little slideshow presentation on this topic. I just forgot to, so I thought I'd bring that out. So, not going to go into depth, but just to give an idea of what the armies look like now. The Army of Northern Virginia, as I mentioned, I did want to stay with my full 9 brigade corps. They will eventually be corps. They're not yet because we don't have the military II policy. But this force will eventually be a corps in a larger army. And I mentioned I wanted to stay with the full size in Virginia, so that I have built out the Army of Northern Virginia to its final form, if you will, at least organizationally. Now, a lot of these brigades started the campaign, and they are smaller. This is a 2,000-man brigade. Withers has 2,800. That's pretty good. He's full size. 2,500. Actually, a lot of these brigades are actually pretty decent. There's a 1,300-man brigade. But this is the organization which this force is going to carry, or I hope it carries, throughout the war. 9 brigades. I did go with the horse artillery, vice-real artillery, or bigger artillery, for the infantry support. I did concede that. 2 cav brigades. And I didn't have to recruit that much to get them to that state. So right now, yeah, Beauregard is at 2,500 men. That includes the units which have been recruited, some of which will take almost a month. Ow. This unit, 52 days. Where are they coming from? Coming from West Virginia, I don't know why it's going to take 52 days to get there. That seems odd. I wonder if that's a glitch. That might update once time starts running. That doesn't seem right. That would make sense for something coming from like Texas or the Indian Territory. Interestingly, it's a West Virginia battalion, even though West Virginia has not seceded, or I guess re-seceded back and become a separate state. I guess the game still is hard coded for recognizing West Virginia vice. It ought to be just Virginia still. Anyway, I won't go into that level of detail, but let's just scroll through, take a look at the other. That's the North Virginia Army. That's the main army, close to Washington, D.C. Here's the Shenandoah, a couple of infantry brigades. Everyone got some horse artillery to support their troops. They're only like 100 men apiece, so I went ahead and just got them all. This is the Missouri Army that has been playing some games over around Arkansas and western Missouri. Got him a couple more brigades, some horse artillery, another artillery brigade. And frankly, I don't know if I should have done that. That might have been a mistake. Let me talk about that in just a sec. This is we had a really small army in western Virginia under Garnett, just a couple of brigades. So, basically he's got something like 70% of his army just now being recruited. Hopefully they'll get there. It's going to be anywhere from 3 weeks to over a month for all these guys to get there. But once they do arrive, he'll be in a position where he can actually conduct some operations other than running away and maybe building a fort. And then finally, the Army of Tennessee, Albert Sidney Johnson's army at Nashville, they got much the same treatment. And this is our one little engineer telegraph building force, which does have its brigade now, so I can get them to building telegraph lines. Back to, and most of these armies are just either sitting building forts or just gathering up their troops. The one army that's kind of in a little bit of a campaign mode right now is the Army of Missouri, which we know has this army over here, the Army of the West, which they've already beaten in battle once. And then there's another Army of the Mississippi here, not visible, but their supply depot is. They're here at Lebanon, very close. And what happens when you recruit a fair number of units into a corps or army is their readiness goes to hell again, because they went from having all their troops and supply and everything, and now, well, Price doesn't have his whole army anymore. He's got half of it. And then they got to get there, and then they got to get organized again, and supplies got to get reworked out. So he's now down into orange readiness, whereas he was close to regaining green before. And so he's kind of in a situation where if either of these armies move on him, I think he's just going to have to retreat, and I may be kind of wasting time building this supply depot. It may have been a smarter idea to just, okay, we're getting you a lot more troops. For now, just move back down to Arkansas. That probably would have been the smarter thing to do. And in fact, I'm going to do that. Because I kind of think once these federal armies get their depots built, they may start coming after him again. Now that may very well be true if he were in Arkansas as well, but maybe not, because he would be in Confederate territory. I think these armies may be reacting to the Confederate force being in Union territory. That does not necessarily mean that they would be predisposed to invade Confederate territory in Arkansas. Could be wrong about that. I know I'm kind of dithering here. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave him alone for now. If he gets attacked, I'll withdraw him. Until then, I'm gonna hold what I got. And with that, I think that pretty much covers what's going on. Let's get our engineering corps building some telegraph, which doesn't take very long. Telegraph stations build pretty easy if you can get a gray spot to do it. There we go. And that'll take 5 days. Before extending this line up into Arkansas, I'm going to have him double back and, well, that's where he is now. He's at Columbia. Is that Columbia, Mississippi or Columbia, Alabama? Looks like Mississippi. I'm not familiar with the real Columbia, so I don't know which side it's on. So he's going to build this telegraph and another one at Tuscaloosa so that we have a straight telegraph connection across here instead of looping all the way down to New Orleans and then back up near the river. I think that'll help. And actually, we do not have a telegraph connection to Nashville either for Johnston. That can't be right. No, there is. It's just a lighter one. The game displays like a main trunk telegraph line. That's the bold red. That is just one big line that goes in. You know, branches off of this line are shown in a lighter red that didn't really stick out very well there. So Johnson's telegraph connection branches off from Corinth to Decatur and then up to Nashville. He's in comms. Yeah, he's got his icon. And I think I mentioned it before, but while I'm on it, the telegraph connectivity isn't just about order delay. There's also a little morale buff for it too, plus 3.8%. So that's another good reason to make sure everyone's connected to Montgomery. And with that, let's get time rolling. I mean, our grand strategic plan at the moment is to sit on our ass, so I don't know if there's going to be much to watch, but the Federals may do something. He's forming this Army of Kentucky, which will wind up being Johnston's nemesis in this area. I think it's interesting that we have sight on this Army of the West, which is much further away than the non-sighted Army of the Mississippi. Part of that could be terrain, and part of that could be the cunning attributes of the two Union commanders. Like Lyon may be a 1-star cunning guy, and whoever's commanding this thing might be 2 stars. That could be the other explanation for why we can see one but not the closer one. And officers that are... There aren't that many officers, particularly on the Union side, who have more than 1-star cunning. That's probably the rarest attribute to have more than 1 star. And the relatively few officers who do have 2-star cunning are usually pretty good in other attributes as well. You know, there's not very many 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2 officers. So this might be a pretty strong commander in charge of this army, if the commander cunning theory is correct on why I can't see him. Almost done with this telegraph station. Which for some reason is branching from Lexington, not from the closer station at Grenada. Okay. That's interesting. Federal staying put up here in the Virginia Theater. Kind of wondering where McClellan is. That is almost a month-old location report on him now. Even older on this militia force. And interestingly, one of these forts is building much faster than the other. Probably because I'm trying to build 2 at once. And so you build a fort, some amount of engineering capacity goes to that, and then what's left over goes to the other. I don't know that for sure. I am just speculating. Should I be building a fort here? Can't hurt. And it's not like Beauregard is doing anything else for the time being. Something like here should cause problems for anybody coming either toward the Shenandoah or south toward Fredericksburg. And also just the fact that the armies are doing something will help build XP too, toward their first core perk slot, even if I don't intend for it to be engineering. Nashville seems like a place where it might be good to have a fort. Let's put one on each side. And that'll give Johnson's guys something to do and build some XP while they're waiting for their buddies to get recruited and show up. Okay, is anything happening in Missouri? Not yet. Nope. Readiness is coming up, at least for the forces he currently has. None of which have arrived. Well, some of his horse artillery has gotten here. This one little brigade sure is moving slow. I guess there's really no... I never intend for this force to engage in combat. I guess there's really no reason not to just force march him wherever I want him to go. If anyone is watching who maybe did not see earlier episodes in the campaign, I took, if you take the default historical campaign start as far as policies go, one of the default policies for the Confederacy is called Old Dominion, which the effect of that policy is that Virginia secedes a little bit earlier in the full campaign, the spring 1861 campaign. This is a summer 1861 campaign, where Virginia starts Confederate anyway. And because of that, I didn't take that policy. But the other effect of that policy is that it makes Richmond the capital of the Confederacy. And because I did not take it, Richmond is not the capital of the Confederacy. Montgomery, Alabama is. So the delay for orders along the telegraph lines, those orders emanate from Montgomery, not from Richmond. Okay, he's arrived at his spot. Telegraph here. We're issuing bonds because we're spending money, having recruited all those troops. You can see our force level going up. At the beginning of the episode, before I started advancing time, we were at 53,000 troops. We're up to 69,000, and that's reflecting the units starting to arrive at their assigned armies. And we can see also the volunteer available pool dropping at the same time. We were at 75K, now down to 45K. When all the recruited units get to their assigned armies, we should be at about 90,000 total. Uh-oh. Okay, I think we're about to get smacked here. But we're at yellow readiness, and he has all of his newly assigned infantry, some additional horse artillery. We're just waiting on one battery, which is only going to take 4 days. 2 batteries, 1 horse and 1 regular artillery. He's got everything else. And he's back up in the yellow. Meanwhile, the Army of the Mississippi has actually lost troops. When first spotted last episode, this was about an 11,000 man force. So those units have been transferred somewhere else, probably to that Army of Kentucky we saw forming, or to something we haven't spotted. What about this force? Oh, Lyons is up to 10,000 now. So maybe Mississippi transferred it would be about 4,000 of his troops. So probably 2 brigades from here up to here. That seems kind of dumb. Except that is now an old spotting report too. That's July, I can't read that. July 23rd is, so he was here July 23rd, over a month ago. Interesting. Okay. I need to do something real world off camera for just a couple minutes. I'm going to put a cut here for a second. Okay, we're back. And it seems pretty clear that we are, given that he's 65, actually 6,000 men right now, and we're at 12,000, he may not be about to attack me. He may be waiting for the Army of the West. And that combined force would be 16,000 to our less than 13,000. I think that would be okay. But even more okay would be defeating this army first before the Army of the West can get involved. I don't want to put him on an offensive stance because that order would have to come all the way from Montgomery, Alabama. And there's going to be a fair amount of delay, especially since he isn't telegraph connected yet. Let me just double check the tooltip here. When on the defensive, will not engage enemy armies or fortifications without specific orders. If the unit stops due to contact or after reaching its destination, it will start entrenching. Which is in fact what he's doing. But if I move right on top of that army, I think either A, that will constitute specific orders, or it will at least force an entrenchment engagement in which we may have the opportunity to assault, which just turns it into a regular battle. I just don't want to wait for the stance change because that'll take forever. I think Army of the West is inside reinforcement range. So we're going to have to fight both at the same time. And I think I'm okay with that. And I'm going to let him attack me to increase the chances that we get a defensive battle. Which is what we want. Okay. No! No, Army of the Mississippi is attacking me without the Army of the West reinforcing. Sweet! Heck yeah! Let's go. The AI in this game has improved. You could use some more of that. Okay, and we got a defensive battle as desired. So let's see what we got here. 6,000 men, 16 guns. We've got more than that. And where's the objective? Moody Spring, which is here. And he is coming from here down the, what is that, Wire? Down the Wire Road. And we know he doesn't have any reinforcements coming. Let's just double check that. Oh, I can't look at the OB. Can't hear though. Union. Yep. No Army of the West. And his condition isn't any better than mine, really. Matter of fact, we're in much better condition. So that's good. So it doesn't look like our yellow readiness is hurting us. Or in any case, he was at even less readiness. Okay, that's good. And let's check the morale. Morale is almost identical. Which, considering that we're fighting on Union, let me think about that. Missouri is a Union state. However, this little part of Missouri is considered under Confederate control because of its proximity to the town of Carrollton, Arkansas. So even if there were no armies here at all, it would still be Confederate territory, even though it's in the state of Missouri, which is Union. So I don't know exactly how that works for the morale nerf for fighting in enemy territory. And I don't think it's displayed here on the tactical map. If we were on the campaign map, I think there's a tooltip that would tell us that. But I never thought to look at it. Also interesting, I'd remarked how a couple battles in a row, we owned the objective at the start, but it gave us a meeting engagement. And I speculated that might have been because I had chosen, I had unselected continuous victory points from objectives. But in this case, we own the victory point, but it's giving us a straight up defensive battle. All right, so he's spawning in over here. So obviously he's going to come down this road at least this far. Does he have any other routes to get to Moody Spring? No. Sort of. He could come around on this little road and come in from our left if we were in this area. It doesn't look like a likely route for him to take. The direct route is just right down through here, past the Sharp place, past the Gwynn place, I'm very confident that's the way he will come. And we can use Van Dorn's cavalry just to keep an eye on this spot. Does he have a route to the south? Not. Come out of HQ mode, zoom in a little closer. Yeah, this isn't really a road. This is kind of a footpath. It's a track. And even if it were a road, that is not a very convincing path for the AI to take compared to this direct route. I'm 100% sure he will come kind of in this direction, and I'm 80% plus sure it'll be this route here. Not coming up this way over Oak Hill. If that's true, defensive locations, zoom in for terrain. Well, this one is perfect. This is pretty good as well. And would also be able to flex better to cover this route. We've got 10 engineering points. Couldn't do much for parapets, for, earthen works with that. But that's plenty for a fair amount of breastworks. Yeah, this is just too good a spot. I'm gonna go with this. And if for some reason it did turn out he decided to come around this way, I think we're still close enough where it'd be all right. Especially considering he's got 6,000 dudes. All right, that's where I'm gonna go. So here's where I intend to defend. I can take the cav, and I can actually deploy them all the way up here. Keep an eye out. That's fine. It's got vision to both directions. Okay. I'm just going to put a shortcut in right here while I build breastworks and fiddle with the brigade positions. Okay. So I deployed the force and advanced time until contact was made. It's now 11 o'clock in the morning. I think we started about 9 or 9:30 in the morning. And deployed the corps right at the spot where I said I would. We've got Rhodes' division on the left side of the road here down by the creek. This is the new division. Both of these are newly recruited. No, they're not. I shifted them around. So there's one brigade here that was in the last battle. This is a new brigade, which means I've got a new brigade somewhere else. These guys, Cheatham. So there's one experienced, or at least has had one battle worth of experience and 1 new brigade in each of these 2 divisions. I did not have this goes across the board for all of the brigades I recruited. I did not have rifles for any of them, not even crappy ones, not even rebored muskets. But I did have quite a few Springfield muskets, so I gave them all that. And if anyone watched my recent little discussion of the game's game manual, you'd be aware that, although not said anywhere in game, this is actually a more powerful weapon, damage-wise, than the mixed muskets are. In fact, this is the most, just on a single shot, right? Not taking into account range and accuracy and rate of fire. On a single shot, if it hits. This is actually the most powerful weapon in the game, which was a surprise to me. So 1 division on the left, 1 division on the right of the road. I've got both of the horse artillery batteries up on the line in cover, right on the breastworks. One of our regular artillery brigades for the artillery division has not yet arrived, so those 2 batteries, the same 2 we had at Carrollton, are up here behind, and I think they've got enough elevation to fire over. At least at targets in here they will. Maybe down in the creek they would not. And then I've got these 2 brigades in Rain's division. They're a reserve because when I placed them, I didn't, there was a possibility they might come around this way. So this is just kind of a response force to flex to either flank if needed. I don't think they will be needed, but that's why they're standing here in march order. Rains is supporting horse artillery, though. I put that unit up here on the line. I don't feel a compelling need to move these brigades, but I should have thought of this while still in pre-deployment. I am going to move this division commander up here so that he's closer to his horse artillery battery, which will probably be his only unit that gets engaged. But we have just now spotted Federal troops headed our way. There's one kind of strung out brigade coming down the road, right down the route that we expected. But one interesting thing is the only message we have gotten is that 1 division has already left the battlefield. And that is a very strange report. Franklin's division had 100 men, 50 cavalry, and 5 guns. How was that even possible? They cannot have taken that much attrition that there's a cavalry brigade that got all the way down to 50 and an infantry brigade that got all the way down to 100. That seems some kind of game glitchy thing. Okay. Anyway, see what happens as the Federals approach. I don't feel any compelling need to contest the crossing with this cav. I would much rather them run into my breastworks and artillery to inflict the initial casualties. So I think the cav can come back a little bit. I don't think they need to cross to our side of the creek, though. I mean, if they push in on them, you can go further down the road. But let's just kind of leave them here on the on the woods on the side of this hill. I think Van Dorn will just follow his brigade and set up over here without me having to tell him to do so. I think. Let's speed this up a little bit. 5x. Okay. Our 6-pounders are opening up. All these batteries have the default 6-pounder guns. They may just be setting up to face our line, or maybe they're coming after the calf. All right, let's get you back across the creek. I think I may have mismanaged this calf here. He's going to get all discombobulated going through those woods and crossing the creek. Hopefully he can get across okay. I don't want to draw these, if they're chasing the calf, I don't want to draw them further away from my line. Let's get, well, let's detach his horse artillery so he won't follow. Let me slow this down a little bit. I don't want him coming off the breastworks. It'll take a second for that order to get there. Let's dismount this cavalry. Pull them back up into the tree line. About like that. Unlike the last battle, we've got some artillery to shoot at. I'm going to order my artillery to go counter battery. I can't see the, no, I clicked the wrong commander. There's Bragg. And I don't see his batteries firing arcs. Because they are blocked by the entrenchments. Crap. Okay, limber up. I'm going to have to move this arty. I thought they'd be able to fire over that line. Let's bring them over here. Okay. And let's move Raines's division Oh, I don't want them going through those woods. But that's probably still quicker than going all the way around, so. Let's bring reins up right about here. Who's actually taking the fire? The guys in the breastworks. That's good. Just have them lay down. Let's just have a quick look here and see what we're dealing with. 2 divisions, one of which is already withdrawn. Okay, so 5,500 infantry, 250 artillery, no cav. So this number cannot be right. 250. Even if every single person is present, a full-size artillery battery has 240 men. So there's a little bit of intelligence uncertainty in that number. It's getting estimated a little high, and there are only those 2 brigades. That's all there is. Although they're full size. Okay. So there's no unspotted units. That's the main thing I was looking for. Let's move this cav forward just a little bit. Engage these skirms, protect the arty. Unlimber. Just slow the time down again. Burnside's got the, not Burnside, Marmaduke's got the Burnside carbines, which there are better cav weapons, but this isn't a bad one. Fast rate of fire. Okay, skirmishers driven off. The Arkansas artillery needs to move up a little bit for a line of sight. They're not firing. Let's get Bragg up right by his batteries. Reduced order delay. These guys still coming? Yeah. I think 1st Brigade is just waiting for 2nd Brigade to get there. This battery doesn't need to be here. I keep using the term battery. They're battalions. Oh, these guys are laying down. Well, they have a counter battery order, but I'm not sure they're actually firing. No, they're not. They're firing at the infantry brigade. It's not what I would have expected. Maybe they're not. Maybe this battery isn't in range. I know it's only the 2 brigades, and we could just walk across the creek and just murder them. I'm trying to take as few casualties as possible. Speed up a little bit. I don't want skirmishers with Springfields, which both of these have. However, those are Mississippi rifles. Let's push out some skirmishers from these guys. Plains rifles, same thing. I don't think we need this cav here anymore. Let's mount them back up. Right, well, they're going to go after Rain's position, looks like. Let's pull the cavalry over here on the flank. Skirms ought to be in cover right along this creek. No? There he goes. There we go. Okay. Oh, I need to unlimber that guy. Oh, this horse artillery batter here, commanded by George S. Patton Sr. I don't know if that's the World War II general's daddy or granddaddy. Both of these skirms are still fine for resilience. Let's go ahead and bring this brigade over here. Bring this division commander closer. Okay, let's pull those skirms back in. Apparently that guy is standing in forest. The game gives him credit for that. I'm going to have to rotate that brigade as soon as they're formed up. I don't know if it'll let me right now. Yeah. Got to set all my units to long range. Who's that? McClernand and McCall. Oh, and that's Johnsy. Johnsy Fremont is the Army commander. Banks is the division commander. Okay, well there's McClernand disposed of. Let's go get the cab across the creek. And McCall is disengaging. Where's Price? Let's get price over here. Every time I use a command that requires pressing the Alt key, that NVIDIA overlay pops up. Which I could turn it off, but I can't because that's what I'm using to record the video. Okay, I don't think anyone's going to do anything except cav. Let's see if maybe infantry can get over close to that artillery. Yeah, you better dismount. Yeah, that's a bad idea. It's just a front firefight with a infantry brigade. That's not a good idea for cav. Fast firing carbines are not. Unsupported. Gave him the order to fall back. Come on. There's some unnecessary casualties there. Yeah, he got smacked pretty hard there. Let's put Van Dorn on rally. If I can get him to stop flashing, maybe I can send him after the artillery. Oh, well, these guys are wavering now. It took 200 casualties. Marmaduke took 200, but of course it's a much smaller unit. So proportionally, that was a pretty big chunk of their troops. Oh, I put the wrong commando on rally. Van Dorn needs to be on rally. Why is he not rallying? Okay. I think the reason why why Rose isn't following his guys is because he's still his battery's detached. I think they should just be able to ride up and get that artillery unit to break. Well, I thought he would. Is he coming all the way back here to do that? Is that a wipeout? I think it was. No battery here. Wonder if they can wipe out this routed infantry. Nope. Okay. Okay. Well, there were a few unnecessary cav casualties there, but we lost just a little over 300. Fremont loses 1,100, including that entire battery. 15 out of 15 guns lost, and 900 of his infantry. I think that's fine. Let's take a quick look at the Van Dorn's Cav is still considered our best division. Missouri State Guard Infantry Brigade is our best brigade. And the Missouri State Guard Artillery is our best battalion. Who did most of the spread apart. Raines' division inflicted the most casualties, followed up by the Cav. Rhodes had that one brigade engaged a little bit along the creek. All right then. So things are going our way over across the Mississippi in the state of Missouri. 2 battles, 2 victories against 2 different armies, the Army of the Mississippi and the Army of the West. So Price's command is doing okay. That cavalry brigade's getting a little small, though. General Raines has become famous and is an inspiration for his men. But I think we're going to have to turn around and fight another battle against Lyons with his Army of the West coming down the pike. But that will have to wait until another episode. Thank you very much for watching.